I believe that many people have heard of the traditional Chinese paper cut culture, and they know what these traditional Chinese paper cuts look like, but they haven't understood them in the depth about what is it like. Today I will introduce you the traditional Chinese paper cut culture from several aspects. Traditional Chinese paper cut is a form art that uses scissors or gravers to cut patterns on paper for decorating life or cooperating with other folk activities. It is one of the oldest Chinese folk art and an important part of various folk activities. From some archaeological remains, paper cuts has appeared in the Northern Dynasty and has been around for 1,500 years. Although there was no paper cuts at that time, people at that time used 5 different techniques to cut patterns on gaofold, leather, and even on the leaves. After the Sui and Tang dynasties, paper cuts became more and more prosperous. In the Tang Dynasty, there were also poetry that specifically described paper cut. In the Song Dynasty, the paper cut industry and paper cut artists began to appear. It began to spread out. In the Ming and Qing dynasties, it was the peak period of paper cut. Paper cut has become a national art, and even the royal family at that time admired from paper cut. Paper cuts can be categorized in many different ways. The most common is the classification of the work, followed by regional, pattern, meaning, and use classification, and so on. I will introduce the classification of the work because it sounds more professional and it is the most common. The classification of works is usually divided into monochrome paper cuts, color paper cuts, and three-dimensional paper cuts. Monochrome paper cut is the most basic form of paper cut. It is cut from red, green, brown, black, gold, and other colors. It is mainly used for window decoration. The forms and techniques of color paper cuts are gradually increasing. There are coloring, inkjet, sketching, and so on. All of them have their own characteristics and unique features. Three-dimensional paper cuts can be either monochrome or colored. It uses a combination of painting and scissoring and some other skills. It is a new type of paper cut that is close to sculpture and relief. Traditional Chinese paper cut art is civilization and spiritual civilization combined together. It is widely manifested in folk beliefs and customs. It vividly reflects the most basic psychological characteristics of the majority of the Chinese people, and the folk culture of aesthetic taste and values. Therefore, it is a non-negligible part of our traditional culture and it represents China. Patterns. These patterns generally have their own meanings including plants, physiology, animals, words and so on, such as phoenix, which is the king of birds in ancient Chinese legends, a representative of peace, happiness, compassion, love, and beauty. There are also some images and objects that represent traditional Chinese such as Tai Chi gossip. Methods, tools generally including scissors and gravers, and the material is usually square paper. Its methods including directly engraving or cutting out unwanted parts, fold twice, polygon folds, and continuous symmetrical folds. And polygon folds include triangle fold, quadrilateral fold, and so on. Next, I will show two of my paper cuts, and the first one is this. The fish are jumping. The ancient legend squid jumped over the dragon gates and it will change into a dragon. The metaphor of the promotion of the official and so on. It is also a metaphor for advancing in the opposite direction. At the same time, the fish also has the meaning of everything going smoothly. And the second one is this. There are 3 sheep here, which means 三阳开泰 in Chinese, and which symbolized the arrival of spring and the recovery of all things. So you can clearly see some writing on this paper cards because the paper I used is all waste paper. The reason I chose waste paper is that I think that a lot of paper is used only once and it is very wasteful, especially some misprinted papers which have not played their role. I want to use them twice, although this looks less beautiful than the professional paper cuts paper. It will be perfect if it is painted. So this is Anne, and thank